Hey friends, welcome back. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Courtney, and I have my two standard poodles, Phyrra and Nyx, in the room with me, so you may see them behind me and you may hear them in this video. I'm actually sick today. I've been sick since Wednesday. I feel like crap right now, so I look a hot mess. I did try to put on makeup and make myself look more polished for this video, but I feel like I look pretty awful. At least I am on the mend, so I will hopefully be better soon. Anyway, this is a tag that Arna created. It's like the top products that I wish were pale friendly, and so I'm just going to talk to you about those products that I wish were pale friendly. So anyway, the first item on my list is the Urban Decay Naked Skin Foundation. I love this foundation because it has like light medium coverage that's buildable and it looks like skin. It's not a heavy cakey foundation. It works really well for my dry sensitive skin, but the shade is off. I really wish that they made a shade that worked for my pale skin where I didn't have to add white. Because Urban Decay is my favorite brand. I love pretty much everything they do, so I'm sure it's no surprise that the number one item on my list, if I could only have one item off of this list made to work for me, it would be this item because I love the brand so much and I love their products. So please, Urban Decay, make naked skin in a pale shade for me. I would love that. The number two item on this list is something that I bought recently and was really disappointed with. I bought the Makeup Geek Flawlessly Ever After Porcelain Princess Palette. I bought this without seeing any swatches of it online because in the past, the porcelain highlighters were a perfect match for my skin tone. As you know, the Makeup Geek highlighters, the Celestial and Moon Phase and Glitz are my holy grail highlighters. I love them. They are my favorite highlighters. I wear them pretty much all the time. I have put a huge dent in my Celestial pan, so I know that I like the formula. I know it works for me. I love how it looks. It gives me like a nice glow. It's not glittery because I don't like overly glittery highlighters. I just love it and it works for me. I bought this palette because I thought this would be great for travel. I thought that the palette would work for me, but unfortunately I was wrong. The highlighter is not a good match for my skin tone. It's not the same white-based highlighter as Celestial or Moon Phase or Glitz, so it doesn't work for me. The contour in this palette is very warm and orange, so I can kind of make it work because I'm neutral tone, but if you were a pale, cool tone person, you'd be SOL. The blushes work really nicely because they are great, so I can use the blushes, but I bought this for travel thinking I'd be able to use all four shades, and I can't. And so it's really disappointing to me, and I wish it was pale girl friendly, but it's not. Milani, you got me 4 times with the Conceal and Perfect 2-in-1 foundation and concealer. I have bought 4 different shades. I only have 3 here. I think the first shade that I bought was Creamy Natural, which was dark and orange. And then I also have Light Natural, Light, and Porcelain. None of these are a good match for my skin tone. I need a super pale neutral or a super pale cool yellow, one of the two. But these all look very dark and orange on me. It's extremely disappointing. And so I really wish that I had a drugstore option that would work for me, but I don't. And I wasted a lot of money trying to see if I would find the right shade. Next on my list, I don't actually have it here, but it's the Physicians Formula, the Healthy Foundation SPF 20. This is a brand new foundation that launched, and I've seen some of my friends like Jen from My Beauty Bunny and Miranda from Slashed Beauty both wear this foundation, and it looks gorgeous on them, so I would love to be able to wear it. But unfortunately, it has like 16 different shades. None of them match me. They're all like basically light to light medium. I didn't see that there were a lot of deeper options, so it was really disappointing to me that there's not an option from Physicians Formula because I like their products a whole lot. I love their Mura Butter Bronzer. I love their Mura Butter Blush. I love their Sexy Cat Booster Mascara. So I was like, oh, it'd be really great if there's a foundation I could wear, but there's not. Number 5 on my list is the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Redness and Transforming Porcelain Beige. Now, I bought this because I thought it would be a great match for my skin tone. I've seen Stephanie Lange use it on herself, and she basically will use it to cover up redness, and then she doesn't even have to put on foundation and it looks great. So I thought, well, Transforming Porcelain Beige, that sounds like it should be my shade. Unfortunately, when I go to put this on, it turns kind of orange on my face, so it's not a good match. I can add white to it and then kind of make it work, but that kind of just, I don't know, it's a pain in the butt to kind of futz with it because it's a really pigmented formula, but then having to add white with it changes the consistency and everything, so it just doesn't work as well. So I wish that it was actually light enough. Fun fact, the powder version of this is actually light enough to work and doesn't turn orange, but the liquid, no. Super disappointed in that. Also on that list would be basically the rest of the IT Cosmetics foundations because I really like their products. The IT Cosmetics foundations are nice and hydrating. They work well for my sensitive dry skin. I like their CC cream, I like their powder foundation. They both don't dry me out. They look really good on my skin, but I have to add a lot of white to them to make them match. So I wish that they had a pale neutral option, and it's rather unfortunate that they don't. But their shade range in general is dismal. They need to improve their shade range because the deeper end of the spectrum has nothing. So I hope that they decide to get their act together and fix that. 7th on my list is the Ordinary Serum Foundation. Now, I think it's hard to find a better foundation for dry skin than the Ordinary Serum Foundation. My only complaint is that the shade is off. If it was just a little bit lighter, it would be a really great match. I have shade 1NS. I thought this was a perfect match, but then when I started wearing it out and about, people would be like, oh no, your face looks darker than the rest of you. So I was very disappointed with that. I would hope that the Ordinary would consider expanding their shade range so that they have a lighter shade than this, because that would be great, but probably not gonna happen. The way I like to wear this foundation, because it is a really nice foundation that can last like 14 hours if you prepare it properly, is to put on their high spreadability primer, put this on, then set it with a setting powder, and then spritz my face with an all-nighter spray. That would last me 14 hours. It lasted me both in Las Vegas as well as here in the hot, humid Florida. So that was great, but I got tired of adding white to it all the time to make it a match, because if I put in a little bit too much white, then I look really funky. And if I don't put in enough white, then it's really darker than my face. And if I don't put in enough white, then my face is darker than the rest of me, which I really hate. So it's so close to being a really perfect product, but not quite there. Number 8 on my list is the Tarte Clay Stick. Now, this is another one of those foundations that I thought was a perfect match for my skin, and then I went out in public, people were like, no. It looks like it's gonna be, but then it's not. It needs to be probably about a shade lighter for it to be a better match for me. I really like the convenience of a stick foundation. I like having something that basically you just take a brush, you run the tip across the brush, and then you spread it on your face. You don't just draw the big lines on your face, because if you do that, you'll end up with too much product. But I like the convenience, hate the fact that it's not a perfect match, wish it was. Number 9 on my list is the bareMinerals BarePro Powder Foundation. I love this foundation, hate the shade range. The tone that matches me best is Dawn, which is like this neutrally colored. And I still sometimes will wear it out of the house, even though my face is darker than my neck and my chest if I'm wearing it, because it's just so nice. It looks so good in the skin, and it's so easy just to put on with a big brush and like kind of buff it all over and be done. So I desperately wish that this came in a lighter shade, because then it would be perfect. I have the same complaint about the bareMinerals Performance Wear, because I have the shade, this shade here is Fair 1. Again, it's not pale enough and it's too pink. I really wish that it was paler and neutral. That would be great. The last item on my list is the 100% Pure Tinted Moisturizer. Now, this also has a really nice formula for dry skin. And again, unfortunately, the shade is just way too dark and orange on me. I wish it wasn't the case, because I like how it feels on my dry skin. Doesn't work. The shade I have is Creme, and unfortunately, Creme is just too dark. And actually, this is one of the ones when I try to add white to it, it just doesn't seem to look right. People often ask, like, what white mixer do I like to use? The best white mixer for me is the Nyx Pro White Mixer. I don't know why, but that seems to be the product that changes the consistency of my foundation the least. For a while, I was using Manic Panic Dream Tone White. I also tried LA Girl Pro White, and that's actually a liquid foundation, but the problem I ran into with the LA Girls, it started causing me to break out, so I wouldn't recommend that. Now, since I've complained about a bunch of foundations that don't work for me in one face palette, I want to talk about a couple foundations that do work for me, in case you too are also searching for the elusive best foundation. My holy grail foundation, the best foundation that I own for me, is the Idun Minerals Nordic Veil Foundation in the shade Jorunn, J-O-R-U-N-N. It's an ultra pale neutral. There's also a version of this that is called Norskin, which is a more dewy foundation. I like the dewy foundation, but it doesn't last as long. The Nordic Veil lasts much longer for me, and the way I prefer to wear it is I prefer to put it on, and I work probably about like a section of my face at a time, rather than putting it like dotted all over and spread it out. So I'll start here and fill in this cheek, and then go up here, and then do my nose, do my chin, and then do the last cheek. And then I set it, and then I have all day wear, and it's great. I've been wearing this for, what time is it now? My my makeup's been on for 10 hours, and I think it still looks pretty good, all things considered, you know, since I'm sick and I feel like crap and I've been sweating and just, ugh, everything tires me out. So yeah, absolutely love the Idun Minerals Nordic Veil. It's awesome. What I use to set the Nordic Veil is the Laura Geller Balance-n-Brighten and Porcelain. This is also great. It's basically like a pale kind of neutral palette, but I feel like it picks up on whatever your undertones are. So if you're pale olive, it might pick up that you're pale olive. On me, it picks up the red overtone from my rosacea unless I cancel that out with another product. So in the past, I've been able to put on, say, the IT Cosmetics Transforming Beige powder on the worst of my redness and then use this powder to set everywhere else, and it's done really well. It does a great job at setting the Nordic Veil Foundation for me, so absolutely love it. I don't like wearing it on its own, but that's just my personal preference. Now, before the Nordic Veil Foundation came out, the other foundation that I absolutely loved was the Huda Beauty FauxFilter Foundation in the shade Milkshake. This is probably the easiest to find if you have pale skin and you have a Sephora near you, because the Idun Minerals is only sold on their website. They're not sold on Sephora or Ulta or anywhere. So I would recommend checking this out. The reason that this is not my holy grail is that it is very full coverage, and so I do have to cut it with another product, but that's, you know, that's not necessarily bad. I will do the same thing with the Nordic Veil. I will cut them both with the Hourglass Veil Mineral Primer to make me have a little bit more of a glow and to have it be less full coverage so that my skin can kind of come through, because I feel like, at least for me, my skin looks better with a little bit of it peeking through. If you want that total full coverage makeup look, use this product. And I actually think it applies better with a brush. In fact, the brush that I prefer to use it with is this Jouer brush, which is like a teardrop shaped brush. It works really, really well with this. And finally, if you're more of a barely there, sheer coverage type of gal, or guy, I would check out the Foam Facial Enhancer in the shade Light. This is a color adjusting sheer product that basically will just kind of like even out your skin tone, and it works pretty well. It's actually, the problem, what it does for me is it matches like my skin tone on my face, and my face is a little bit darker and redder than my neck and my chest, but it still manages to look natural and not awful. So I do wear it from time to time. Now you know the products that I wish were pale enough for me and the products that I recommend if you are as pale as me. Please be sure to let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like this video and want to see more like this, please give it a thumbs up and share. And if you haven't subscribed already, you should click the little button down below so you don't miss my next video. Thanks so much for watching.